Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast of the Stavrou Method, an holistic approach to optimal health and wellness. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Tom Irvine, head coach of Quest PTS based out of Cornwall, Ontario. Here's some info on Tom for those of you that don't know him. Tom has been in the field of personal training for 20 years and has spent 14 of those years as a business owner of a commercial gym and studio. He also has over 15 years teaching experience at St. Lawrence College at the Cornwall Campus for physical education. The majority of his clients are corporate and average Joes, but he also works with a variety of athletes, currently in boxing, MMA, and hockey. Tom, thanks for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule for today's interview. Very much appreciated.
Well, thanks for having me, George. Much appreciated to take this opportunity to chit chat and explore the field of fitness and health.
Well, we've been trying to arrange this for the longest time, and we both have very busy schedules. So, it's great that you made time on a bright and early Saturday morning. So let's get right into it. Tom, you've got a system in place when you're dealing with your clients. And from our previous Facebook chats, you do the following. So it's an assessment of the client, looking at mobility, recovery, nutrition, and mindset. So if we can go through each one individually, that'd be great.
Sure. Over the years, I've taken a lot of different courses, and what I've come to the conclusion is sometimes less is more. So it's very easy with clients to do too many things, and we just start spinning the hamster wheel. So I came up with a system over the years where I do something quite simple in my assessments, where first thing I do during the warm up, I start the assessments. I take a look at how the person's running, moving, and I make adjustments from that point. Typically, when people come in for a structured assessment, I use the overhead squat. So much valuable information we can get from all the different fascial lines, how people are rotating, twisting, etc. So that's how I start off the process with the majority of my clients.
Very cool. Actually, Tom, if you can adjust your camera a little bit, buddy, your head's kind of getting cut off. Sorry about that.
Oh,
and my apologies, folks. I don't think.
Is that better?
That's better. It's cut off a little bit at the top, but I think we're okay. That's much better.
Yeah, and then also when I'm looking at the overhead squat, we can start seeing different patterns. So I'm assuming you understand the overhead squat as well, but a big mentor of mine was John Paul Casarno and also Charles Poliquin. So what I really start looking at through anatomy trains as well is from the ankle up. Before I was always looking at the stick and the overhead squat position, how the deviated position, but the ankle is the foundation of everything.
Correct.
So a lot of clients that come in, the proprioception of the foot is off. So a lot of times when I start working on that reception of the big toe, how they recruit the stabilization of the ankle, it starts trickling up to that knee, hip, shoulder, and rib complex in terms of optimizing posture and recruitment of the proper muscles.
Very nice. Yeah, and I'm familiar with the overhead squat. And what I like about that as an assessment tool is it's not like you need to load the person up with a weight that they're going to be using with their workout. Even just a broomstick is enough to give you the feedback you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And then from that point, when I can see the different deviations, typically there's a lot of unilateral imbalances. So we start progressing from that point more towards the unilateral side of things for programming remedies to balance it, what we see with that overhead squat. And typically most of the posterior chain is a weakened link as well. So from that point, again, it's more the posterior chain that we address with our clients, and also that unilateral imbalance that we see with that overhead squat.
Well, and the funny thing is, it's rare for somebody to actually be balanced throughout their whole body. Like, there are varying degrees of unilateral imbalance, and I noticed how some clients have trained in the past as well. Like, there's one guy I put through the paces, and it's surprising, like, he was very balanced. And I said, like, you actually focus on this, but it's just the way that his body was and respond to things. Like, he was just not in tune with all the exercise that he's doing. But for the majority of the population, there will be, some discrepancies going on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then from there, when I start to question the client more, typically majority of people that come to the gym, it's the leg press that they focus on when it comes to leg training, running on the treadmill, etc. So when I look at the different strength ratios, which I learned from Mr. Charles Poliquin, we try and strive for about 50% on the reverse hyperextension in terms of what they can do in the back squat. And majority of clients, excuse me, I've never actually seen a reverse hyperextension before. So
Hmm.
from that point, when we start addressing into that side of the chain, we start looking at the feet again, and we start
Sure.
seeing the bicep femoris as a very dominant muscle with the majority of our clients as well. So a lot of clients that come in, when we look at reverse hyperextension in terms of strength ratio,
Hmm.
hamstring curls, etc., we can start seeing the feet deviating out of position. So that's
Yeah.
one of the first things that I address is, again, that ratio between the bicep femoris, semimembrionis, the different
Same to
hamstring
nose.
heads.
Yeah. And that's a great piece of equipment. I know that Louis Simmons uses that quite extensively with his powerlifting athletes.
Yeah, and to date he still does. Yep.
Yeah, very nice. And then, like, you mentioned the mobility side of it, and then, like, you start to progress it into the recovery aspect of things. So, I know that there's certainly a balance between pushing people enough in the gym, but not too much where they're not recovering between workouts. So, what approach do you take with that?
For recovery methods,
Mhm.
so number one thing, sleep is the best performance enhancer. So
Yeah.
majority of clients that are coming in, typically they're looking for the new age supplements, different remedies along that line. But sleep's the first thing that we need to address. So I keep things simple where going to bed, waking up the same time frame. A lot of clients
Hmm.
are not aware how much stress you create to the body when you're waking up at different hours throughout the night, not having a proper sleep hygiene schedule and
Yeah.
keeping a consistent schedule. So that's the first thing that we try and line up with our clients. Going to bed before 10 o'clock, waking up at the same time, making things consistent is the
Hmm.
first stage that we push onto clients. Sounding simple, but the results are just unreal with in terms of recovery, energy levels, etc.
Yeah. Well, it's something that I read, and I think, they're saying for every hour of sleep before midnight, it's equivalent to 2 hours after midnight.
Yeah, I've read something like that. I think it was Paul Check that maybe put that out there. I'm not sure if you read that from him or not, but
It
yeah,
may have
I
been.
yeah yeah I can definitely agree to that statement.
Yeah.
Now, from there, what I've done from reading Christian Thibodeau and the great Yves Nadeau is checking morning heart rate. So it's a very simple strategy clients can use. We try and encourage them to get up, do their washroom business, because that does affect the heart rate. And they
Okay.
come back to bed, lie down solid for 10 minutes, and then track their heart rate. So it's good to program a client's 5 intense maximal effort workouts a week. Some clients can adapt to it, some cannot. And
Hmm.
instead of just playing the guessing game, let's use that heart rate to figure out how they're responding to training. And if the training is up to par, how their lifestyle factors are contributing to that optimal sleep. And that's what we use for the heart rate tracking.
Very good. Yeah. And, like, in addition to sleep, are there any other recovery methods that you'd recommend out there?
One thing that Brian McKenzie put out is a CO2 tolerance. Have you heard of that before?
Can't say I have there. No.
So I don't want to take credit where it's not due, but if you look at Brian McKenzie, has some valuable stuff on simple techniques of breathing. So it's a particular procedure that you can do breathing about 4 or 5 times. And then on the fifth breath, you try to exhale as long as possible. So typically majority of clients, they're around 20 seconds. So the pulmonary function is kind of delayed. They're more prone to being in a stressful fight or flight syndrome.
Hmm.
So we try and encourage clients to learn and practice exhaling in a longer time frame. And for the optimal number, if you're looking for that, is 80 seconds.
Wow.
After you do 4 or 5 deep breaths, being able to exhale nice and slow for 80 seconds will help improve your pulmonary function, balance that nervous system out as well. But again, most of us are just so wound up from computer usage, stimulants, stress, working out too much, not respecting the recovery aspect. So again, a simple thing, again, is that sleep habit, make that routine for them, check their heart rate to see how it's all adapting. But this
Uh-huh.
breathing for myself and everybody else has done wonders in terms of calming everybody back down.
That's amazing. Well, and it ties into a lot of pulp and stuff, because into the whole, like, yin yang aspect of it. Because some
Exactly.
people feel that they need, a lot of stimulants to kind of get going first in the morning. It says, like, okay, well, the stimulants is the one side of it, but if you're not getting enough recovery and recuperation, that's going to throw you off. So instead of
Exactly.
jacking your system up there, just get that deeper sleep going on, which will help out with that kick in the morning.
Exactly.
And
Indirectly, it's going to give you that energy that next day.
yeah, and I've been guilty of that. It just taking some of those drinks or that I'm not going to name any names here, but it's just like, okay, it was good in the short term, but after a while, just the adrenals were fried and just felt worse for being on for too long. So off of that stuff and just getting more into the sleep hygiene side of it that you're mentioning.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Very
Yeah, so
cool.
that's one thing. Again, it's not too elaborate with clients, but a very simple thing that they can do. And honestly, it's done wonders with all our clients. And even in between sets, what we find is some clients are chest breathers. They start to
Yeah,
over. So when they start learning how to do the CO2 tolerance type breathing, they start optimizing that recovery time between the workouts and less time needed for rest.
very nice. Love that
Yeah.
approach, sir. And say as far as the side of nutrition, Tom, so what approach you take is some people are into the whole cookie cutter aspect of it, but it's just like you'll have hardcore vegans that are out there and it works for some people, but not necessarily others. So what would you do
Uh,
as far as like,
Yeah, so back when I first started, I was really big into supplements, and I found it got to a point where clients were spending $300-400 a month on supplements that have a lot of backing of science, but they're spending all this money getting no results in terms of energy or body composition.
mm-hmm,
So over the years, what I did, I tried to narrow things down and look into Ayurvedic medicine, for an example, looking at how people's metabolism works. So some people I recommend a lot of vegetables in their diet and would backfire. So doing more investigation through Ayurvedic medicine, we can see with their different metabolic types, is raw food better for them? Is steamed food better for them? So we try and introduce people to, or clients, to those questions is how do you respond to a salad? How do you respond to having something steamed? So
I
that's the
love that.
first thing. Yeah, so how they assimilate the food, how the reactions to the food, be aware of what's occurring.
Yeah,
Uh, and also John Paul, our friend and mentor, through Paul Check as well, done a lot of food allergy type setups for clients where we're doing a food rotation.
that's
So
huge. Yeah,
big time. So once clients start getting on board with that, we figure out how to prepare the vegetables, how to cook the meats, and then from there, rotating the food routine basis, we can see truly is chicken good for that person? Is broccoli good for that person?
mm-hmm,
We can send them off for different allergen tests, but I find this could be a little bit longer process, but people learn and respect things a lot more and get so much more understanding of the food they're actually putting into their system.
love it. And we can backtrack a little bit. I think it's great that you're talking about the different metabolic types. That's something I learned from through the works of Paul Check and William Walcott, because you have some
Yep.
people like that thrive, say, on a higher clean protein and good fats. Some, it's like, they do better with just moderation, all those other. And then you have that third category. It's like, you can just give them tons of carbs all day long and
Hmm.
they're just beasts from it.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's all individualized. And then from there, I'm really big on decreasing inflammation. So back to what I said about the food rotation system, as people start figuring what's optimal for their system, the cravings for that garbage food start diminishing, immune
mhm,
system starts increasing, recovery time from the workouts, everything starts optimizing. And as we know,
exactly.
from being in the gym, majority of, let's say, meatheads,
Yeah.
it's whey protein every single workout, and they don't realize they have allergens to that whey protein. So by trying to break it down, having it every 4 days, people get the true response to those foods and they become believers in why we rotate, aka supplements and foods.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Because the thing is, it could be the ideal foods and supplements for you, but after a while, just you have too much of one thing, not enough of something else. And the body says, I need a breather from this. And even with
Exactly.
our respected mentor, Coach Paul Quinn, well, the late Coach Paul Quinn, he
Right.
just says, like, the longer the time you can have between the same food category, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned, I think it was John Paul that opened my eyes to that, is vitamin C is a little trick where people are having those negative foods and they still enjoy having them. And we
Yeah.
allow that for, let's say, a cheat type day. Adding that vitamin C post meal will help reduce those signs and symptoms or reactions people are getting to those negative foods.
Very nice. Well, and damage control, that's a big thing. So it's
Yep.
like, not everybody can stick to a very clean eating plan. It is challenging, especially if they're busy just on the road a lot and things like that. So say, if this is part of your daily routine, what can we do to minimize the impact of all the negatives out there?
Yeah, exactly. Um, Another thing that you might find interesting too, the late Nicholas Gonzalez. I'm not sure if you know Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez.
I'm familiar with the name.
Okay. Anyways, I did a seminar a couple of years back, and he opened my eyes to the yin and yang of different minerals. So I was a big believer in taking ZMA. And
Yeah.
once I discovered that zinc has more of a stimulating effect and magnesium more of a calming effect, I start looking to different minerals and different supplements and start putting in that Chinese type mythology with our supplementation and food, having the stimulating foods in the morning hours and the calming type foods in the afternoon, which made a huge difference for myself personally and my clients as well.
Definitely makes sense. And like, that ties into like, the different responses from food as well. Because you look at Polkwen with his whole meat and nut breakfast, he
For the
says just stay
dopamine.
away from carbs. Like, just try to get you as alert as possible first thing of the day and save the carbs for post workout and say pre bedtime, that type of idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and in saying that with Poliquin, it was Eric Braverman that really opened his eyes to the different neurotransmitter effects to foods and our different personal neurotransmitter dominance that we have. And Christian Tiabodo has taken it one step further. But in saying that, when we're around computers all the time and overstimulating our dopamine, what happens? We just get burnt out all the time. So clients that have these type of situations, I find rhodiola and tyrosine do wonders for that person that's on the computer day in, day out, and uses a lot of stimulants and their dopamine that becomes compromised. So that's where we bring into the supplementation to help restore and balance out that neurotransmitter dopamine that a lot of us have issues with.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes like it's a case where it's like, like you're just taking too much of the stimulants. You need that much more to get the same kick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And in saying that, I don't take any stimulants myself at all. I do have an organic coffee about every 2 days type thing, but I don't need those stimulants. Acetylcholine, to get that stimulated, I'll use acetyl L-carnitine. It's
Yeah.
only a pre-workout I use, and that's very, very sporadic with my training.
Gotcha. Well, and sometimes like, it is a whole less is more approach because the whole idea of supplements, it just means in addition to, it's not supposed to be replacing things. So
Yeah,
like, when your nutrition and training and recovery are spot on, like, you may need a little bit of supplements here and there to kind of like, just give you that extra kick with it. But sometimes there is that over reliance on the supplement side of it too.
yeah, exactly. So that's the approach that I take here for that. And saying that, we've done biosignature modulation that has evolved into metabolic analytics, but looking at people's body fat storage and then what supplementation, what nutrition based on their individual characteristics in terms of hormonal profile is an approach that we take as well. But the stuff we just talked about in terms of decreasing inflammation, that's the foundation of how we evolve our clients into eating healthy and better lifestyle.
Yeah, if we can spend a bit of time on the whole Bio6 side, that'd be great.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so basically some clients that come in here, we find they dictate storage in a particular area. So the clients that have it more around their chest or pectoralis area and their triceps, when it comes to supplementation, we find that their testosterone levels are lower because of that accumulation of fat in those regions. So for those particular clients, we really explore the use of vitamin D.
Yeah.
When we get into vitamin D, getting them to get some blood work done from their doctor to confirm what's an ideal dosage. And learning from Mark Houston, when we get into the vitamin D, what we try and encourage is them to have loaded doses 2 times per week. So as opposed to having it every single day, clients bring up their levels a lot faster when they have 2 high doses per week as compared to people that have it every single day at the same dosage.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So like over the course of the week, it's the same dosage, but it just depends on how you're having the clients take it.
So the bolus amount, so taking that twice a week, again, this is from Mark Houston, Dr. Mark Houston, heart specialist. He's the one that really opened our eyes to that course action for vitamin D. So
Very
if
nice.
anybody's having problems with clients getting their vitamin D levels up, that's definitely something to explore. Also the zinc and magnesium protocols. So again, back to what I was saying about the yin and yang effects of foods, I really encourage the zinc in the morning hours, magnesium in the afternoon. There's other things we've used too, but the zinc, magnesium, vitamin D are the mainstay when it comes to accumulation of fat in the chest and tricep to optimize your testosterone.
Yeah. Well, I like what you're saying, Tom, about splitting up the zinc and the magnesium, because I was taking the ZMA type of product for the longest time. And I did get a good night's sleep out of it, but it certainly makes a lot of sense. Well, if zinc is like more of a stimulating type of thing and magnesium helps you relax, why would you combine it? It's like, you're just kind of canceling each other out.
Yeah, and again, it depends on the individual. Like I have one client that takes magnesium, but if there's any B6 that has been proven to help the utilization or absorption of the magnesium. Any iota of B6 in her evening protocol, she's stimulated all night long. So
Wow.
it all comes down to the clients and their individual effects, but typically try and separate our supplementation to avoid those type of interactions.
Yeah, well, it's a smart approach rather than just a whole cookie cutter approach that some people take out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
And,
cool.
and then for the females and some males as well, it's the glute in the thigh area where they accumulate more body fat. So again,
Hmm.
based on Charles's recommendation was estrogen dominance. So we have the
Yeah.
good, bad types of estrogen. But to make it in a nutshell, it's detoxification. So one supplement that we use a lot is calcium D-glucarate,
Hmm.
DIM, or we really encourage a lot of estrogen detoxifying foods like your broccoli, your kale, watercress, etc. And that's
Gotcha.
wonders for those areas as well.
Yeah. Well, and just for our audience that that isn't too familiar with the whole bio-6 side of it, because you can have like a group of people with the same body fat percentage, but it goes back to where they're storing it and how it ties into their hormonal profile, vitamin, mineral deficiencies, that type of thing. So like you could have theoretically somebody with a lower body fat and looks like it's normal on the charts, but they may be in worse shape than somebody that has a higher body fat, but their hormones are more balanced.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, and that's and again, some people that come in that have that spot reducing type goal in mind, either for competition or just overall confidence from themselves. This gives them a lot of answers and insight into why they're storing body fat in those particular areas.
Yeah. Well, and even with the whole spot reducing side of it, because for the longest time people thought that spot reducing didn't work.
Hmm.
But it's like,
Yeah,
you can certainly do the right things to optimize, like, okay, generally speaking, males tend to carry more fat in the abdominal area, and women just tend to have a little bit more thighs in the hips.
exactly. And as we can see, females typically have a different estrogen balance than the males, so that answers a lot of those questions. But there are some males that are in that category too, and this gives them that insight on what to do to resolve that.
Yeah, very nice. Well,
Yep.
and Tom, the final thing that you cover when you're dealing with your clients is mindset. So if we can spend a little bit of time on that, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so Bob Proctor is the one that made this mainstream knowledge that we're the sum of the five people we hang out with on a routine basis.
Yeah.
So fortunately, we have certain family members that stress us out. They need to be part of our life. But learning over the years, we just have to eliminate or minimize our time with those people that suck the energy right out of us. So that's the biggest thing that I try and encourage to clients is recognize your environment, who you're around on a routine basis. You can make
Mhm.
decisions to spend time with those people or not. You
Yeah.
don't have to be aggressive about it, but honestly, being aware of those people around on a routine basis influences who we become.
Oh, most definitely. Well, some guys that I've known since public school, it's like they haven't changed since their whole high school days. They're still smoking up and drinking on the weekend.
Sure.
And I'm thinking, okay, we're approaching 50, so at what point do you stop doing that? And like, I'm not there to judge people, that's their thing, but they just haven't grown past a certain point, and well, I've got better things to do.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly. Yeah, and as we know, like the negative person always think it's something as permanent, uncontrollable. Where as you start getting that positive mindset when you're around like-minded people, things are just temporary. Things are changeable. We can do things to make a better course of action and results in our life. Where again, the negative people just are so locked into thinking things can't be changed, which is completely wrong.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So also I try and set up just routines for myself. So wake up the same time frame. So back to what we talked about for restoration, going to bed, wake up at the same time. I don't need an alarm clock when I wake up. So
no,
just in that routine for myself, it's done wonders. So waking up early in the morning, I get a lot of my stuff done. It's off my plate. I feel rewarded. So then
yeah,
if I have to skip out of my work schedule a little bit quicker and go off to the bank, I don't feel guilty because I've accomplished all my objectives first thing in the morning. So my early morning ritual, and that I encourage for clients as well, is a huge good start to the day.
yeah. That's a great approach to have there, because personally, I find like, that if I get my workout done by a certain time, it's just one less thing to worry about. I used to be able to train late at night. That was back during my high school days, and just it doesn't work for me anymore. So
Mhm.
it's like, if I'm not getting my workout, say by 10 or 11 in the morning at the absolute latest, it throws my day off.
Well, and the research says typically like 3 hours after you wake up or 11 hours is the optimal time to work out. But I think the best time to work out is what's going to be consistent for us. So that's
Oh,
a lot of,
exactly.
so we have to put that in the mindset of clients to trying to find the perfect scientific time to work out. What will be routine for you?
Well, that's it. And maybe a person's schedule changes. They could be doing days one week and maybe get switched to the graveyard shift or something like that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you just got to find a way of adapting to your particular lifestyle and making the most out of things.
Exactly. Another thing too is starting my day the night before. So before going to bed, making a list of objectives that I need to get accomplished in what set order. So wake up is not chaos. Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. There's a couple other good leaders in the business world. They wear the same clothes every day. So not literally same clothes, but the same style of clothes where they don't
Yeah.
have to mental energy getting up to select that wardrobe, just getting your clothes put on quickly, get to work and get things done instead of overthinking with mindless stuff.
Well, exactly. And that energy could be used for something else that's more productive. I know with Bill Gates, he just tends to have the same colors on a regular basis, and it's there, and that's it. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And reading. So I don't think a lot of people appreciate the science behind reading, but stimulating those eyes to work, which is a factor when it comes to restoration and overall balance, getting those eyes strengthened instead of using the computer screen, but an actual book. So I try to encourage clients to read a minimum of 20 minutes per day and something outside. And this has helped me drastically. Instead of just reading the weight room stuff that I love to read, stuff that has an indirect correlation to improve my business and my strength training. So reading stuff of spirituality, nutrition, all kinds of different subjects, and indirectly, again, improves my overall knowledge and what I can offer to the clients.
That's huge. Yeah, because a lot of times we do get focused on the stuff that we're familiar and comfortable with, and there's just so much more that kind of complements what we can bring to the table.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Yeah. So being present, the book Power Now is a great book to teach people how to become present to what you're actually doing. It's so easy to multitask and put a half-assed effort into your workouts, what you're reading, what you're doing at work. So I'm really focused on what we're doing right now, put your full effort into what you're doing. And that's done a huge success in what people are achieving in the gym and outside the gym as well.
Very nice. Well, I do love his approach here, and something that I came across, like, if a person is depressed, they tend to be thinking about things that happened in the past. If they're anxious, to worry about the future. So just focus on that very moment and make the most out of it, and you'll do the best that you can with the resources that you have. Because with the past, it's gone. You'll certainly learn from it, but don't dwell on it too much there, because you can be stuck in the past, and the future's like, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. You can plan for it up to a certain point, but how much time you spend planning versus being proactive with what you have right in front of you right now.
Exactly, you nailed that right to a T. So we just create so much mental stress for nothing. So focusing on what we can change at the particular moment and not worry about to what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, sorry, go ahead there.
A mental relevancy from Dr. Dan Paff or Coach Dan Paff. So learning for people have a backup plan. So plan B. So whenever we hit adversity in life, we have a stressful situation, what can we do to get back on course? So many people hit those different roadblocks in life, stress out and worry about things. So we try and teach people how to have a backup plan. So if a client comes in here, I need to get them ready for that football game, has a twisted ankle, there's still things we can do to get them back on track to get into that field instead of worrying about that twisted ankle. So a plan B is something that we try and encourage clients and our staff to have as a backup plan.
Yeah, and sometimes a twisted ankle is a blessing in disguise as well, because it gives you a chance to focus on other things that maybe you're normally not paying attention to. So it's like, you want to see it as a negative, like, I don't want that twisted ankle, but at the same time, it happened. I can get pissed off about it, but now it's like maybe I can spend more time as far as mobility or just other aspects of my training that weren't getting that attention that they required.
Hand-eye coordination, as you said, there's so many different revenues we can take that can still correspond to become a better athlete or a better person in terms of fitness and health balance.
Yeah, very cool. Well, we've covered a lot here, and Tom, looks like our time is just about up. So do you have any parting thoughts for our audience over here?
I think the last thing is my mobility stance. What I've been studying a lot through is Dr. Guy Voyer. So when it comes to mobility and balance, we've been using a lot of the Eldoya method with our clients. So that's where we're putting in a different fixed static position with clients and then teaching them how to mobilize their fascia through different peripheral limb movements. And that, along with their breathing patterns, has done so much benefit in terms of recovery, balance to our clients. And to summarize all this stuff, the whole gist of all this, we're trying to teach our clients to become their own therapist.
Very
And a lot
nice.
of times they come to see us on a routine basis to respect what we know. Our goal is to give them as much power as they can, where they can make those changes themselves, teach them to become their own therapist. And when we hit those roadblocks or looking for that new variety, then they come seek our knowledge, as opposed to relying on every step of the way that we walk them through that. So we're trying to avoid that handheld process.
Well, I think it's a great approach though, because the whole thing is that you don't want your clients mirrored to you in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I want them to learn how to apply this stuff, as opposed to making us make all those decisions and educate them that way. So
Yeah. Great.
so indirectly, we've built our business up drastically from following that method. And we might only have that one client for about 10 sessions throughout the year, but indirect, we have so many other of their friends, families, teammates coming in following their advice to come see us for direction.
Very cool. Well, Tom's like, what's the best way for our audience to learn more about all the great things that you do at Quest PTS?
So nowadays, a lot of people are on social media. So we use Instagram, we use Facebook. So our Instagram page is Instagram at Quest PTS.
Okay.
Our Facebook page is Quest PTS, Strength Training and Massage Therapy, which I can send you the links. They can
if you
post
could, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the easiest way to reach out to us, or we can go to our website and contact me directly if you like. My personal email is tom@questpts.com, and our website's www.questpts.com.
Yeah, and if you can send all those links to me, I can have it in the description box below this video. It makes it a little bit easier for the audience to get in touch with you if they are in the Cornwall area. Okay. Well, I know that you have a client like you that's starting off with you in a few minutes, so I'd like to thank you once again for taking time of your busy schedule to show all the great things you do, and looking forward to our next interview.
Excellent. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much, George.
Thank you, Tom. And everybody, that wraps up another episode of the Stavrou Method, an holistic approach to optimal health and wellness. And stay tuned for our next episode.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Good.